There's continued violence by Israeli settlers and military forces across the occupied West Bank. Settlers have been targeting Palestinians at the height of the olive harvest. In Bethlehem, they shot and injured 3 farmers, raiding their land and releasing their livestock. And Israeli forces have conducted large-scale raids in several areas, including Ramallah, Nablus and Jenin. They've made several arrests. And footage has emerged of Israeli settlers raiding a Palestinian farm, attacking and killing livestock. The incident occurred in Hebron on Monday. Local media report that the settlers were protected by Israeli soldiers. They fired gas canisters towards the farmer's house, injuring his children. Well, let's find out more about the situation in the occupied West Bank with Al Jazeera's Nour, who's joining us live from Ramallah. Nour, you've just returned home to the occupied West Bank, having traveled through the Jordan Valley. Tell us about what you saw on the way with regards to settlement activity in the occupied West Bank.
Well, fully being absent for a year, really, I almost didn't recognize the road from Jericho to Ramallah. There were fundamental changes that happened on the way, namely that entire communities in the Jordan Valley, Bedouin communities, had disappeared. All I saw was what remained of their homes and of their barns. They were torn down and burned by Israeli settlers. What I did see, however, were several young Israeli settlers armed, taking over the land, putting up fences to mark their new claimed territory, if you will, setting up an outpost with an Israeli flag. When I tried to pull out my phone and take pictures or capture this on video, the driver I was with asked me, pleaded really, not to do that because he didn't want to be marked by the Israeli settlers who roam the area free and who can call the Israeli army. He didn't want to be marked. He lives in the Jordan Valley and he was fearing retribution. So really, quite remarkable in the span of 12 months how much has changed the area, the composition of the population, and the freedom with which Israeli settlers roam that area, which constitutes about a third of the occupied West Bank fully.
And Nour, while this is happening in the occupied West Bank, how is it being viewed in Gaza? How does it affect Gaza?
Well, as far as the base of this right-wing Israeli government, what happens in the occupied West Bank is meant to offset the disappointment in Gaza. Let's remember that the Israeli Prime Minister's allies in the government had attended and even co-hosted conferences throughout the past 2 years meant to so-called resettle Gaza, to establish Israeli settlements there. They didn't want this war to end. They wanted to depopulate the Gaza Strip from its Palestinian population. So while Netanyahu now has to play nice with Trump and to adhere to the ceasefire as far as Israel is concerned, in the occupied West Bank, the agenda of this government of taking over land, of allowing settlers to not only take up more arms, but to use them quite freely and to assist them by deploying the Israeli army, all of that is meant to please the base of the right wing in Israel, to make them forgive, if you will, the misgivings they have about the situation in Gaza, and to lower the temperature of criticism of the Israeli government about how the ceasefire is going, particularly, for example, about the return of the bodies of Israeli captives. Some right-wing commentators said that the remains that were handed over last night, it was a disappointment. Hamas was once again playing Israel, while more mainstream, still right-wing media was saying that this was not viewed as a violation of the ceasefire because already it was understood that there was a suspicion that these belonged to Israeli captives and nothing was sure.
Nour, thank you very much for that. Nour Odeh reporting there live from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank.
Don't miss out and get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.